Have you played Call of Duty, but noticed that it was controlling you while you were playing? If you want to learn how a game can deceive you, welcome to Unrejectable. Modern war is no longer limited to the battlefield. Even if you live thousands of kilometers away from the front line, war still finds a way to reach you. For those who grew up in the 1990s and early 2000s, this idea isn't unfamiliar. We grew up far from war, but never far from its images. We encountered it through evening news broadcasts, real footage sliding beneath headlines. I'm probably not the only one who remembers watching Muammar Gaddafi being lynched on television, or the skies of Iraq filled with smoke, oil fields burning during the invasion. And for those who were too young back then, Hollywood later reintroduced these events in another form. So history didn't always reach us through books. Sometimes it came through news reports, sometimes through images, and sometimes through video games. Today, accessing information is easier than ever, but the real question is this: is the information that reaches us actually true, or is it carefully presented to push us in a certain direction? Today, I want to show you how a popular video game does exactly that. How, through a single scene and a carefully crafted story, history is quietly rewritten. And more importantly, how it convinces you while doing so. Burned vehicles line the road. The flames are gone, but smoke still hangs in the air. As you move forward in the game, you're told just one thing: the Russians did this. This is how the Highway of Death mission begins in Call of Duty: Modern Warfare. A retreating convoy has been bombed from the air. Military vehicles, civilian cars, buses, all destroyed side by side. The scene is disturbingly realistic. So realistic that one question naturally comes to mind. Haven't we seen this before? Because we have. Let's go back to 1991. The Gulf War is nearing its end. The Iraqi army has received the order to withdraw from Kuwait. The war is essentially over, but the chaos on the ground is not. The highway stretching from Kuwait City to Basra, Highway 80, stops being a military route and turns into a massive escape corridor. This convoy isn't made up of uniformed soldiers alone. There are regular army units, but mixed among them are hundreds of trucks, civilian cars, and buses. Some vehicles belong to the army. Others are civilian vehicles hastily taken from Kuwait. Inside, the buses are not only soldiers, but also civilians trying to return home, believing the war is finally over. Many of the vehicles are filled with loot: household items, televisions, refrigerators, furniture, anything that could be taken quickly from Kuwait. Some are retreating under orders. Others are simply running for their lives. No one really knows where they're going. They only know one thing: once they're on this road, there's no turning back. As the convoy stretches on, all order collapses. Military discipline dissolves. Armored vehicles move alongside small civilian cars. Buses follow tanks. As night falls, the road stops looking like an organized retreat and becomes a corridor of panic. And in the middle of this chaos, the attack begins. American aircraft strike the front and the rear of the convoy. The road is sealed. Vehicles crash into one another. There is no escape. Airstrikes continue for hours. Those who survive abandon their vehicles and try to flee into the desert. Some manage to escape. Many don't. What remains becomes one of the most iconic images of modern warfare. Burned tanks, destroyed civilian vehicles, bodies scattered across the road. Western media gives it a single name: the Highway of Death. The exact number of deaths is still unclear. Some sources say hundreds. Others say far more. The numbers may be debated, but one thing is not. For those who were there, this wasn't a normal battle. It was a massacre. Journalists wrote that they stopped counting bodies. Iraqi soldiers described the night turning into day under constant bombardment. Bodies inside and outside burned vehicles. People shot while trying to run. The testimonies leave little room for ambiguity. But American officials described the same night very differently. General Norman Schwarzkopf, commander of U.S. Central Command, responds bluntly to criticism. This was a legitimate military target. According to him, those attacked were not civilians, but an armed and organized military force. Retreating did not make them untouchable. U.S. defense officials echoed the same line. The strike was legal under the laws of war. President George H.W. Bush went even further. This is war, and this is the nature of war. Same road, same night, same bodies. One side calls it a massacre, the other calls it military necessity. And this is where the story doesn't end. Years pass. The event remains controversial, frozen in history, until one day those images reappear, in a different context, with a different perpetrator, inside a different story. Let's return to the game, because now it's no longer just telling a war story. A crime is being quietly transferred to someone else. Same road, same convoy, same destruction. But this time, the responsibility lies elsewhere. In the game, the United States is not responsible. The historical context is erased. A new culprit is inserted. The scene remains, but the guilty party changes. This isn't something that can be dismissed as it's just a game, because this isn't a random fictional moment. It's a real historical event, visually replicated and deliberately assigned to a different actor. There's a word for this: historical revisionism. Not denying the past, but altering it just enough to make it more acceptable, especially when done through a medium consumed by millions. Many young people today don't learn the Gulf War from books, they learn it from scenes like this. And the first version of a story you learn is usually the one that stays with you. That's what makes this powerful. There's another detail worth noticing: the design of the game's central female character. Her clothing, posture, the way she carries her weapon. Visually, she resembles not a typical Middle Eastern civilian or soldier, but the image of YPG fighters long promoted by Western media. This is not accidental. For years, Western narratives have framed the YPG as progressive, freedom-loving, defenders of women's rights. The good side of the conflict. That imagery has been repeated in news reports, documentaries, and popular culture. Call of Duty adopts this visual language almost exactly. Throughout the story, this character represents innocence, resistance, and moral superiority. Opposing forces are framed as absolute evil. So the player isn't just experiencing a story. They're being taught who is right and who is wrong through visual cues. Complex realities disappear. The YPG's controversial role, political ties, and impact on civilians are completely excluded. What remains is a simplified figure, the good female fighter, and the player identifies with her without questioning it. This fits perfectly with the game's broader approach: borrow real events, remove complexity, erase gray areas, and present a clean, moral story, just like the Highway of Death mission. So this isn't about character design. It's about which actors are legitimized, which are demonized, and how this is delivered to millions of players, all while being dismissed as just a game. So the question remains, is this really just a game, or is it something much bigger, a manipulation of collective memory? Sometimes wars aren't won on the battlefield. Sometimes the most lasting victories are achieved without firing a single shot. As Sun Tzu said, "The greatest victory is that which requires no battle." Before you close this video, ask yourself one last thing. How many times have we already been fed historical revisionism without even noticing it?
There is only one road, Tariq al-Maut, the Highway of Death. The Russians bombed it during the invasion, killing the people trying to escape.
Wait a minute!